Hey guys, Ninja Guy VR here, and wow, it's already been 9 years since Chronos came out. As you might know, I've only started VR last year, so I have a lot of catching up to do. I've made myself a list of over 200 games that I'd love to finish one day, and I'll be exploring this list in chronological order from time to time. This one is the oldest game in my list. Now, with this game being sold and around when the VR gaming boom started, does it still hold up? Well, you and I are here to find that out together and see if it's still worth playing now, so let's dive into it. Chronos came out as a Rift launch game on March 24th and is still exclusive to the PCVR Oculus Rift store. The developers are VRGames, who has built quite a reputation with their latest being Remnant 2 on flatscreen, the third game in the Chronos universe, but let's get into where it all started. So the game is easily comparable to a Soulslike, but there are plenty of things that differentiate it from other games in the same genre. It's an adventure game where you have to make your way through a bunch of enemies. You will die a lot. The game is made so it's very difficult. You won't need to worry though. There are 3 difficulties that you can choose at the beginning. I chose the hardest one, and the balance was perfect. I really enjoyed it and it did not feel unfair in any way. In these types of games, when you die, you usually lose all of your progression since your last checkpoint, but this one is a little bit more forgiving. You keep your experience, and every time you die 10 times, you get to choose an additional perk to help you out. One crazy thing though is that checkpoints do not replenish your health or potions. These will only replenish when you're knocked out, so the progression can be tricky sometimes because of this. Throughout the game, you will get a nice assortment of weapons, and they are all really fun to try. They are not made to be better than another, but there is always a nice thing added to it that can fit your playstyle, like the spear that will give you better range attacks, or the mace that does 2 hits when you do a charge attack. You also get to upgrade weapons with materials that you find by defeating enemies, another great way to increase your character's ability. That's what I like about the game. They've kind of included multiple types of playstyle, so you're not forced to play a certain way. Additional to the weapons, you can dodge the attacks by pressing the dodge button, or you can also deflect their attack by parrying with your shield. There's no advantage to using one from another. You do what's the most comfortable to you.
Come, sit. Listen all. Listen well.
You start the game listening to an old lady's tale about our civilization living in a normal everyday life, until beasts controlled by a dragon came and chased everyone to hide. You are a hero that is tasked to defeat that dragon and restore peace to the world. At first, the story seems very simple, but as you go through, you learn about some pretty crazy things and how all of this started. The world and lore starts by being very confusing, but as you go through, it starts making more and more sense. It goes very deep and I really enjoyed it. Something super cool about the game is that every time that you die, you are then forced to wait a year before the crystal to the other world is opened again. So as you keep dying, you keep getting older and older. The game explains that during that year, you are training to become stronger, and this is why you get new perks every 10 years. I love this concept, it's very unique. So there are other few things that make this game fun and engaging. First, the environments are never boring and are never the same. They always pull out something where it makes me stop and appreciate what they've done here. The first environment is just regular castle stuff and you don't pay it much mind, but then all of a sudden, you become super small and fight toy enemies. And then later you're transported into this beautiful lush forest that feels inspired by the Wookiee forest in Star Wars. This is just a few examples. Something to keep in mind is that the game is very puzzle focused. Not something that you typically see in a Soulslike, but you might get stuck at figuring out a password to get to a portal, finding a key to unlock a door, or even a sliding puzzle to open a pathway. I liked it since it brings a pause on just proceeding forward, but if you're not into puzzles, this is something to consider. I'm also happy to say that throughout my 10 hours playthrough, I never really felt like there were any fillers. The game is crafted nicely. As developers entering the early period of VR, I feel like VRGames understood what a VR game should be. There are no UI at all when playing. If you want to see things like health or experience, you have to hit the pause button. This is a little inconvenient, but also it's just nice having a clean screen not having anything obstructing your view. As you might have noticed, they've decided to go with a fixed camera view, which I find interesting. It's rare to see a VR game where you control a visible character, but I love that. I find that it works really well and I'd be down to have more games like that. A few years later, they've re-released the game on flat screen, but they went with a third-person view. It gives a totally different perspective, and I'm happy that I was able to experience it like that before my VR days. So guys, I must say, as of right now, the game stands out for me, and is still super fun in this day and age. I would definitely recommend this game if you're looking for something unique and a quality Souls-like game with puzzles. Now I have the hitch to play the sequel, Remnant from the Ashes. I've already talked to a few friends about playing it together. The game just used the Quest controller buttons and no motion features, but that was a limitation from the time. I also had issues running the game at first, but I just had to run it in administrative mode to make it work. I want to say a big thanks to VR Gaming for sharing his flat screen gameplay for my video. He's working on a pretty cool 2D pixel roguelike game called Pixelmancer, and I'll share a link to his game in my description if you're ever interested in checking it out. Thanks for watching! The next game I'll be playing from my backlog is Windlands 1, which is great since the next game from the developers, Titan Isles, was just announced. So make sure to hit that subscribe button to hear my thoughts on it, and let me know in the comments if there's any super old VR games that you'd like me to check out. See you soon!